Hey guys, it's OffTopicGames here with another deck profile for you. This build, I basically just wanted to get more content out for you guys. We're kind of lacking in deck profiles at the moment. So this is kind of like, this deck is like a 1.0 version. It's not optimized for tournament play yet. Or like super competitiveness, but it's pretty nice, it works well. So I'll get right into it. This is the Nightmare Doll Alice deck with new support from GBT05. For our starter, we run Innocent Magician. It's our grade 3 searcher. Counterblast 1, put it into Soul, search top 5 for grade 3, and add it to your hand. Because this deck is very, I guess, combo oriented, you need your pieces to get it off. You want your grade 3s because that's really important, so that's why the grade 3 searcher is here. Unfortunately, I don't care for it too much because it's, if you miss, it's pretty bad. It's an egg 1. And then there's another card, it's a 5k grade 0, Innocent Magician, or not Innocent Magician. Sorry, there's another card, it's 5k, Counterblast 1, put it into the Soul, search top 10, put one card from the top 10 into your Soul. So that's also -1, but you do get a specific Soul card that you wanted. But I guess like Innocent Magician just helps you out a bit more. It gives you, if you're grade locked, it helps you out and then gives you a stride fodder. So yeah, that's our starter. For our triggers, we run 6 crits. 4 of them are Poison Juggler. What you do is, it has an effect. Put it into the Soul, choose a unit, gains +3, so that's very useful. And then the other crit is a Workroid, which matters because we need Workroids in the deck. So that's why. I do value the +3k over the Workroid because +3 matters. It's really good, and I'll show you why later on. I'll basically map out the general plays you can do. Here's 6 draws, 4 of which are the Workroids. It's the Silverthorn one. And then the other 2 are the effect one, it's a 4k. I don't really use it too much, but it's kind of nice to have if you need it. And then lastly, 4 heals. I don't think Pale Moon has a Workroid heal, so that's why it's here. This one looks nice. So yeah. Here's where it gets like a little bit unoptimal. For Perfect Guards, we run 4 Perfect Guards. Currently, I'm letting a friend borrow 2 of mine Flipper Perfect Guards, so that's why these are just the normal ones. They're still okay, it's not terrible or anything. 3 Purple Trapezist. It's really nice, it's super expensive now. It's 6k grade 1. When you call it, you put a card in Soul and call a card that's not Purple Trapezist. That's really good because it's a basic toolbox. You can set up if you need stuff in your Soul, take it out, etc. It's actually really good in this deck. But it's not super needed, so I run 3. I might cut it down to 2. Next we run 3 Masquerade Bunnies. It's the stride fodder for this deck. Stride is pretty necessary, interestingly enough. It makes it so that your power plays are more effective and it's a lot easier. So that's why striding is pretty necessary in the deck. It's not needed per se, but if your hand and your field and setup is unoptimal, striding can help you fix it. Then lastly, we run this broken common, Nightmare Doll Leslie. What it does is when an Alice is put in the Soul, you stand the unit. So if you guys didn't know, the Nightmare Doll deck abuses the Alice and makes it go into the Soul and come back. So if you have Leslie's on the field, they just restand and it helps a lot. I feel like Leslie's make the deck, but so does Alice and Catherine. Jenny too, I guess. Yeah. For grade 2s, we run 3 Flying Perryton. It's a GB1 effect. I believe it's the only one in this deck. When it's called to the rear guard, you soul charge a card and call a card in the same column as this unit, and at the end of the turn it goes back into Soul. This is really useful because it sets up your field first of all, and it can basically just chain with itself if you want. And yeah, you also soul charge, so if your Soul needs some fixin', he's here to hopefully help you out if you're a bit lucky. If not, you just thin deck or whatever. But yeah, you normally can just like call this, call Purple Trapezist, put Flying Perryton in the Soul, call again on the other side, get a free column. So it's pretty nice, something like that. Yeah. That's the grade part of the grade 2s. Next is for Nightmare Doll Master Brenda. These specific two grade 2s, they're currently probably unoptimal in terms of numbers and stuff. What I do want to run is either tanky attackers, that's Workroid because that matters, or the, I think, Dancing Princess of the Night Sky. It's a 8k grade 2. When it's called on the rearguard of Vanguard circle, you counter blast 1, put a grade 2 or lower unit into your soul from the deck. So that's really nice because it helps fix out your soul, and it offers more consistency for this deck. Where a lot of times, in order to get the cards you want in the soul, you have to either ride them or use Catherine. So it's kind of a bit hard to get the cards that you want into your soul. Or you can just shove it in with like Night from your hand. But if you don't have it, then it's hard. And then lastly, for the grade 2s, we run 4 Nightmare Doll Ginnies. She's really good. You want her into the soul all the time. What she does is, when she's called from the soul, you can put her into the soul and call Alice, and it gains +5. So it's actually really good. You really need it in the soul. And yeah, again, I'll explain the combos later after I get through the deck list. For grade 3s, we run, obviously, 4 Nightmare Doll Alice. Super expensive as well. It's a grade 3 from set 3. It's a 10k. What you do is counter blast 1, put this unit into the soul. When it hits, you pay the cost, so put it in soul and counter blast 1, and call a card that's not Nightmare Doll Alice to the rearguard circle. And then for the other grade 3s, you run 4 Nightmare Doll Catherine. It's the new card that came out on GBTO5. It's a grade 3. What it does is, when you ride this card, you put any card from your deck into the soul. That's really, really good. And then secondly, there's another effect. It's continuous. All of your rearguards with Alice, or Nightmare Doll Alice, gets +1k. So your Nightmare Doll Alice's become 11k. And then at the end of the battle, then all Alice's gain this specific effect. At the end of the battle that the unit did not hit, you counterblast 1, call out an Alice, and then put that Alice into the soul. So, yeah. It's really good. It makes it so that regardless of whether or not Alice hits or does not hit, you still get the effect to recall Alice, basically. Or something along those lines. For strides, we run 2 on hit. 1 Clifford and 1 Amanda. The difference between the two is that Amanda soul charges, and then at the end of the turn, the card that was called on hit from the soul gets put back to the deck, but this one stays. And then also, I think Clifford can only call grade 2s or lower. So the generic effect is on hit, you take a card, call a card from the soul, and it gains +2. And then Amanda's different because it goes back into the soul and you soul charge. And then Clifford, the unit stays on the field, but you can only call a grade 2 or lower, I believe. So 2 on hit, 2 Madu, in case you ride Alice. I actually really like riding Alice. It's kind of interesting, but I guarantee the Alice in the soul, and I guarantee free stride with Madu. So it kind of sets up and digs through your deck for more cards if you need it. Yeah, and then lastly we run for Beatrix. Beatrix is really good. You don't need 4. Probably one or 2. I don't think this deck needs Lunatic or Harry. You can run it if you want though. What Beatrix does is, at the end of the battle that this unit attacked, you put the Beatrix back to the G zone, and then put 3 Workroids in the soul and call 2. So again, this is really, really good. And yes, so that's the deck itself. I'll show you the cool plays here. So what your main Vanguard is obviously Catherine. You want to have like a Ginny into the soul at minimum, and a Alice, and then 1 in your hand or field. This is the bare minimum setup that you want. The absolute bare minimum is just 1 Alice on the field or in your hand, 1 Ginny in the soul, and 1 Alice. What this basically means is that if you swing with Alice, if it hits, you counterblast 1, call something else that's not Alice, so Ginny. Ginny goes back to the soul. Alice comes out and she gains +5 for Counterblast 1. If it didn't hit, you Counterblast 1, activate Catherine's effect, call out the Alice, same rearguard circle, and then put the Alice back. Now for how this deck is super broken, is you have these restanders, where whenever an Alice is called into the soul, you restand it. So let's say, for example, you only have one, which is still super good. What you can do is put it behind the Alice, and then this will always be an 18 minimum lane. And you can always put triggers behind the Leslie, and it always continues. Then, if you're super good and have the optimal setup, you have 3 Leslies, and you just swing with this one first, then swing with this one. Counterblast, if it hit, you know, she goes in the soul somehow, they all restand, and Alice somehow comes out. So, yeah, that's the amazing setup. The other setup, if you only have 2, is probably just like this. Hope your opponent doesn't trigger something. This is 14, this is 11 to 16. With triggers, it should be more, of course. What's good about the Leslie lane is you can stack the crits on it, and it doesn't go away, whereas if you stack the crits on Alice, it'll go away after it goes into the soul. The reason why I run Poison Juggler is because you can just bump up the Leslies to make it a 17 column, or you bump it up to make it a 21 column. So that matters because as long as the Leslie doesn't go into the soul somehow, you should retain the power. Now, what's good about Beatrix is the Stride. You normally want this because you get more attacks in, and you get... it's just better. Let me just make up a field here. So, let's give you the most broken field you can have. So here's a field, right? Actually, it should be a bit more broken. Why not? We'll put it like this. Oh no. This. I mean, technically you don't need a booster behind the Vanguard, but it's nice to have if you need it. Let's say something like this. And you put the crit into the soul. Your front row Leslie gains +3, right? Now, what Beatrix does is, remember, she puts 3 Workroids into the soul. So, let's say you didn't have a Ginny in the soul. Well, now you do because you have Ginny in the back row and you can just put it in. So that's what's good. First point that's good about Beatrix. She fixes your soul. And second point, if you don't have any Leslies, you can call the Leslies if it's in your soul. So it fixes your field. That's 2. Now, what's good about this is that it makes it so that you get more attacks off, basically. Let's see how the broken play. 17 at the Vanguard or something. 18 at the Vanguard or something. Swing at the Vanguard, 26. Now, let's say, to be even more broken, you drive check 3 crits. Your opponent perfect guards. Doesn't matter, you put on this Leslie. So, by herself, including the crit that we put into the soul, she is a 25k by herself with 3 extra crits. Like, why not? And then we activate Beatrix's skill. She goes back to the G zone. That's very important. Call 3, put 3 Workroids in the soul, call 2. So put Alice in the soul, obviously, and like 3 other cards. That's not the boosted. Because Alice went to the soul, these 2 stand. Now, recall Ginny. This is important, by the way, just for the +5. And then recall Leslie. Ginny skill activates. Alice gets called out. She gets +5. Now swing with the Leslie column. If you did get 3 crits, it's like 32 with the Vanguard with like 4 damage. That's nuts, insane, but probably won't happen. Like if you get draw triggers or heal triggers, that's okay too, because the power is what matters. If you get the crits, that's like extra spice. So swing with this. They can guard it if they don't. Next, you swing with this. It should be like a 15k lane. Counterblast 1. If it hit, great, you get more power. If it doesn't hit, that's okay, that's normal. Because you don't expect it if the opponent's at 5 or something. So if it hits, you Counterblast 1, call the Ginny, and then skill of Ginny, call Alice. Because everything went soul, these all stand. If it didn't hit, you use Catherine's skill, or I guess the Alice's skill, other skill. call the Alice, put Alice in soul. Because Alice got put in soul, they all stand. So that's the basic loop. It's super strong if you get your pieces off. Right now, this build that I mentioned that you've seen is currently not super optimal. It's somewhat inconsistent because it's hard to get things in the soul sometimes if you don't have the optimal rides. So that's why I want to put in 2 dancing princess of the night sky, and yeah, hopefully that'll help the deck a bit more. I hope you guys liked it. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you did. If you have any comments, suggestions, or questions or anything, please hit us up in the comment box down below, and I'll see you all next time.